Why did this bill get stymied in the Commons by your colleague?
I think, as everyone's working out, House of Commons can be a bit of a strange old place. And Christopher chose to do what he did, and I don't agree with him. I can understand why he did it. I think that time is ripe for a lot of change in that place, and this is an area. But look, I think the FGM thing is really important. I think one of the reasons. I mean, it's interesting how people talk about when it actually pricks their consciousness.
Yes.
One of the reasons when Nimco first came to me and talked about this, I do think there is an element of this that of misunderstanding that around the cultural sensitivities of this, where we've always kind of been a bit British about it and sort of a bit backward and kind of left it to women to challenge or to certain ethnic communities to challenge. The fact is, as Mohammed said, it is child abuse, and it goes on in the United Kingdom. And if people knew the scale of this and the challenge of it, I think people would be much more fired up about it. And that's why we've sort of come together to for sort of Fathers Against FGM. We've all got little girls, and this practice has to end in this country, and we need to do as much as we possibly can abroad to put a stop to it.
Tom Chamberlain, the petition that's now in place, and we will be exhorting people to sign it momentarily. In specific terms, what is it designed to achieve?
Well, I think the thing is that we, when Nimco approached me about this, the problem was that about 2014, Theresa May had brought this into the public consciousness. But unlike with modern slavery, where quite a lot of ground got made, this slightly fell by the wayside. And I think Nimco approached me because on my social media there's basically clothes and there's pictures of my son, and now I've got a second boy now who's about 4 weeks old. And I think fatherhood's changed, and I think we are I think it's worth us coming into the conversation in a way that I think that there's a temptation to allow the cultural, gender-specific people to take care of this and handle this, and I think Nimco disagreed with this.
What you could loosely describe as the usual suspects in the context of campaigning, and I mean no negative by that, but there's a freshness, there's a sort of originality to the idea of having people who wouldn't normally be seen in this on this sort of platform.
Yeah, and I think you're right in saying that a lot of these decisions have probably come from the patriarchy. So if men are part of the problem, the men can also be part of the solution.
In terms, then, it is a bill that would add female genital mutilation to the Children's Act, and that would mean, as I understand it, that if social services or doctors and nurses or even teachers felt that a child was at risk, it gives them a new arsenal of possible interventions that at the moment might apply to child sexual abuse but wouldn't apply to a suspicion of female genital mutilation.
And to think that there wasn't that in the first place is kind of upsetting.
It's a crime of omission, isn't it? I mean, the Children's Act didn't really recognise that it was a thing.
Yes,
so,
and I think that a lot of people are kind of hazing this with the idea of that that there are boys that get circumcised, for example, but there are 3 stages of female genital mutilation, or 3 types.
Yes,
and the type 1, which is the least egregious type, is the cutting off of the clitoris. So if you think that is the least bad, you can see that the extent of this can be really horrific for young girls.
Indeed.
And so if you think that wasn't on this bill in the first place, is terrible.
I think it's a Pandora's box, actually. It's just the comparison with what male circumcision involves. And I've always been astonished by some of the campaigners speaking about female genital mutilation, Mohammed, very calmly and casually, and they use they try to call it female circumcision.
Yeah, no, it's not circumcision at all. If I told you I was going to take my daughter out this afternoon and cut her ears off, you'd be mortified, and rightly so. To cut a woman in that manner is absolutely egregious, as Tom said. It's child abuse, and that's exactly what it is. Let's not call it FGM or anything else. It's child abuse, and we should call out for what it is.
What can people do, Johnny Mercer? How does the petition operate?
Sign up to the petition. Look, this is coming before the House again, and I'm hopeful that the government will take it forward. I think, Penny Mordaunt at Diffid, she's committed £50 million to try and tackle this aboard. I think we're heading in the right direction, but we need to get away from this idea that it's a niche issue, right? That, only certain people can deal with. It is straight up child abuse. It is cutting children, and, as Mohammed just clearly said, if you saw it going on someone's face, you'd get the police or social services involved and think, look, this is not right. Well, this is not right, and just because it's about an area of the body people don't like to talk about, or an ethnic group that people don't want to interfere with, I'm afraid it's a load of rubbish. It is straight up child abuse, and it needs to end.